Hello friends. This is my first ever attempt at videotaping myself cooking. So today, my friend Mona the other day posted a recipe for cream cheese chicken enchiladas. So we're gonna play around with that. We're gonna give it a try. So first of all, I've got to cook my chicken. So we're just gonna boil it, make it simple. It's just me and Jasmine, so we just use one chicken breast. So right into the water, that's gonna go. And then I'm gonna throw this away and wash my hands. Okay, so then I don't just do plain old water. We can't just do plain old water because that's just no bueno. So I always add my onion powder and my garlic powder. And for a little spice, we gotta have some Slap Your Mama or some Tony's, whichever one works. Gotta get lots of goody, salty flavor in there. And then, of course, regular ground black pepper and some regular salt. And we're just gonna let that boil up for about 10-15 minutes. And then it smells so good already. Then we will shred it up and I will show y'all how we are going to create our filling for our enchiladas. In the process, I'm also going to take my enchilada sauce and let's get that opened up. My fancy new Tupperware can opener. I believe Pampered Chef has one that's similar as well. Super cool, no sharp edges, yay! So I'm going to add my enchilada sauce to another little pot over here and get that kind of warming up because you gotta have warm sauce in order to dip the enchilada, the tortillas in. So I always add a little extra to mine, so a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt. The canned enchilada sauces are already kind of pretty salty, so you don't want to add too much. And then my secret ingredient is our Q Sciences Fuse, and this one has silver in it, so I get the benefits of our nanotechnology silver as well as the benefits from our full spectrum hemp. That's the good thing about having a hemp and CBD product that is temperature stable and water soluble. You can use it in your cooking and it adds a little bit of flavor, but you still get the benefits. So I'm gonna put a dropper full of our cinnamon flavor into our enchilada sauce. And it's gonna add a little bit of kick, a little cinnamon spice to it. And that'll be it. It'll be yummy, it'll be good to go. Let's whisk that up. Now we're gonna let our chicken boil and our enchilada sauce simmer for a bit, and I'll be right back to put our enchiladas together. Okay guys, so I've now pulled out my chicken breasts and let it cool off enough to handle, because I mean some people will go with like the hand mixer or the KitchenAid mixer to shred up their chicken. I personally like to do it by hand because I want to make sure that there's not any like weird gristly parts or any kind of gross veins or anything gross in there. So I like to go through and shred mine up by hand so that I can pick out all the icky parts and make sure that the sizes are exactly the way that I want them to be. You know, a little OCD action happening here. So we're gonna finish shredding this up by hand. I've just kind of started it a little bit. Let it cool off really well so that it doesn't burn my fingers off, because I've almost done that a couple of times before in my life. You live and you learn, right? Then the enchilada sauce that I got was only a 10-ounce can. So boiling this chicken and all those yummy seasonings that we added, that kind of created a little bit of a chicken broth. And so in order to stretch the enchilada sauce a little bit further, because we're gonna use it several different places, not just in the enchiladas. We like adding it also to our rice. And we're also gonna mix a little bit in with this chicken mixture according to the recipe that I'm kind of sort of following, you know, the basics at least. I decided that I was gonna add about half a cup of the chicken broth that was made to the enchilada sauce, because number one, it's just gonna add yummy flavor, but number two, it will make it go faster, or further, not faster, further. All right, let's see, there's another big piece right there. In the meantime, we have also preheated our oven to 350 degrees per the recipe. Usually I heat mine up to 400 when I cook like anything. That's just my go-to. Don't ask me why. Probably something Rachel Ray told me back in the day, because you know, Rachel Ray's the one that taught me how to cook on Food Network. Okay, so we've got good uniform sizes of chicken all through here. You know, picky little me, all a little, there's no gristly parts or any nasty, ugly veins. So now we're gonna add in, the recipe called for 8 ounces of cream cheese. Again, because it's just us, we're only gonna do 4 ounces. So I'm going to throw in this soft cream cheese so that it mixes easy. And we are going to mix that in with our chicken. Let's see, this is gonna be a process apparently. It is very, very soft, but seems to be mixing fairly well. So, all right, that looks fairly good and mixed in there. I'm now going to take, I've got like a little 1/4 of a cup measuring cup here. I'm going to probably not use this whole thing, just kind of scoop a little bit of enchilada sauce out, throw it in here in this bowl. This enchilada sauce has of course been simmering this entire time. So add a little bit of that. Let's see how that turns out, right? Let's put that over there. That looks yummy. Sure does. That helps the cheese melt a little bit more. Certainly lets it become a little more spreadable. This looks good. And then because it's me and I gotta be extra, we're gonna add in a little bit more slap your mama and a little bit more onion powder, garlic powder. Jasmine and I were actually talking the other day that I need to just start. So I have these cool little Tupperware shakers. I think it was Tupperware. My Tupperware dealer, Nikki, she could tell me. But I have these like little like seasoning shakers that I got that are for like homemade spices. We've got one that's a taco seasoning and a Cajun seasoning, and I have a couple others that are empty now. So I'm like, what kind of seasoning am I gonna make to put in these suckers? And Jasmine and I determined that I use on the daily basis onion powder, garlic powder, slap your mama, salt and pepper. So we need to just make like a house mixture of just those so that it's all in one easy shaker and I don't have to like take all of these spices out all the time, every single time. Just use one little shaker and done. So I'm also going to add just a splash of this chicken stock to it because it needs to be a little bit more spreadable, I think, to go on the tortillas easily. Just kind of make it a little softer, a little easier to manage. Yeah, ooh, that looks yummy, y'all. All right, now The cool part, shredded cheese. Because you know, cream cheese just isn't enough. So we got our little Mexican blended cheese here. I'm gonna do a big old handful, finish off that bag. Done. Cheese, 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 cheese. Here's our chicken mixture. We've got that all set. So now I'm gonna move this stock out of the way. And now for the tricky part, we are going to move our enchilada this direction. So I've got the cast iron heating just very, very low, very, very low. And so this is not necessarily a process that everybody has to do. Just kind of my own preference here. But I'm gonna clean us off some space because we're about to be assembly lining this sucker pretty much to assemble the rest of these enchiladas. So I've taken our corn tortillas and I have lightly brushed each side with a little bit of olive oil. So we are going to heat up the cast iron skillet to just a very low heat. The enchilada sauce has already been kind of simmering on low to just meld all those yummy flavors together. So we've got our Pyrex baking dish. I don't know if everybody can see everything I'm doing here yet. Okay, so I'm gonna take my tortilla and I'm just gonna lightly toast it on a cast iron skillet. That just kind of helps it, I don't know, it becomes a little more easier to manage. I've tried where I just stick the tortilla in the enchilada sauce and let that go. That doesn't, usually the enchilada just falls apart. So I'm gonna take a little bit of our enchilada sauce and I'm gonna spread it around the bottom of our pan. You know, like it's gotta go lots of places. Okay. A little bit more. Just to get a light coating on the bottom of the pan. Light coating on the bottom of the pan. So, tortilla has heated up in the cast iron skillet. Pretty much want it to where you can just handle it with your fingers because we're about to get real messy. Speaking of, let me go ahead and get my paper towel. Because this is the fun part, indeed. This is my favorite part, as a matter of fact. All right. Well, I think my enchilada pan's not, my saucepan's not quite big enough to hold the whole sucker. But you dip that enchilada right into the sauce, or that corn tortilla. Then you're gonna take a good old helping of filling. We're going to spread it out here. Oh, hush, Teeny. You're not barking at anything. You stop. There's absolutely nothing there for you to bark at, Teeny. Absolutely nothing. Oh, no. Y'all stop it. Y'all stop it.
Just the neighbor taking out his trash.
All right, and then we're going to roll that sucker right up and stick it right there. And we go for our next one, onto the cast iron skillet. So I started out with 8 tortillas here. I wasn't really sure like how many we're gonna really need. We'll see. So heat that for a few seconds each side. Really, it's a process, right? It's a process, you know? This enchilada sauce in a bigger pan so that it'll that the tortilla will fit in easier. That one got a little hotter. Woo. My fingers are a little toasty. Got a little hot, that one. All right, let's do our filling. Usually when I'm making enchiladas, I just stuff my fingers in the cheese and chicken mixture. This one's got cream cheese all over it, so it's gonna be a little bit messier, but it's gonna be delicious. If anybody's got an argument to that, let me know, because I don't think so. All right. Dogs are always underfoot. Yeah. Dogs are always underfoot. All right, I'm gonna wipe off my hands here. Start using the tongs so I don't burn myself anymore. Haha. Think smarter, not harder, right? So we think. Let's see, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. We might have enough for 6, and I think 6 is gonna fit in this pot perfectly. So since I oiled 8 tortillas, we might just cut those other 2 up and make a couple of chips. Yeah, we'll cut the rest of that filling. Just have a couple that are not quite as stuffed. I mean, hey, who really measures things these days? I never have. I just eyeball everything. Most of the time it turns out okay. I can scrape all the edges, get all that cheese and everything off the edges. Why not, huh? I've always been one that make sure I get every last drop. Last roll. Let's see if we can do this. Get it seam side down. Ta-da! Alright, some of those are really good and stuffed, aren't they? Alright, let me wash my hands. Yes. Now we are done with the messy part. Thankfully. Done with the messy parts. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our little measuring cup up here again. This 1/4 cup measuring cup pretty much comes in handy with everything that we're doing here today. And we're just going to scoop out a little bit more of that enchilada sauce. Set that aside. And then we're gonna pour the rest of this enchilada sauce down over the tops of the enchilada here. Yep. Let me get my, like I said, don't leave anything in the bottom of the pot. Get it all out. Why would you ever want to leave all that extra sauce in there? It's good stuff. Alright, let's spread it around a little bit. Now we are going to, another little handy trick here. Once you get all this goodness out, the only way to ensure that you do not leave any of that behind, any of that good flavor, is to repurpose it. So this, with all of our enchilada sauce in the bottom here, it's gonna go over here on this other little burner, and we're going to add our refried beans to it. So this, like I said, because it's just us, we don't need a whole can of beans. So I dumped out the beans. And I set them aside. There we go. so we can save those for later. So these will simmer a little bit. Right now, other little thing I gotta do is we are repurposing pots here. So I'm gonna take this chicken stock that I made. I'm gonna take half a cup. Actually, let's add a full cup to this. So we have no use for the rest of it, right? But we want to reuse this pan because we're gonna make our rice in this pan. All right. Okay. So that's repurposed. We've got our excess enchilada sauce. We've got our excess chicken broth. Beans are going on extremely low. We're going to now top these enchiladas with more cheese. I mean, why not, right? Maybe if I can get the bag open. Do these tear gear things ever really work the way they're supposed to work? Probably not. All right, let's cover generously the tops of these enchiladas with some cheese. Alright. Cheese. Like I said, generously cover them. You want them all sorts of bubbly brown on top. Bubbly brown on top. Yum, yum, yummy. Cheesy, cheesy, cheesy. Gosh, I could probably use this entire bag. Jasmine doesn't like that much cheese because it gets too thick and chewy. I like thick and chewy. That's just me. So, all right, now, because as I said, I'm a little extra. So cheese is on top. So I've got a little bit of Tex-Mex seasoning here, which is basically like taco seasoning, and I'm just gonna sprinkle it lightly right over the top. I mean, because who doesn't want a little extra Mexican flavor to the enchiladas? If you don't like that, then you don't like enchiladas. All right, these are gonna go in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes till they're all bubbly brown and crispy. Yes. And once it gets a little bit closer to time for the enchiladas to come out, we'll start our rice. All right, guys. Okay, so now we're gonna start our rice. The enchiladas have, they've probably been in there longer than what it's gonna take to, we're gonna need a little bit more time on the rice. So I've melted, I do rice very strangely, so don't judge me until you've tried it. But I've melted 2 tablespoons of butter. It's almost gonna be risotto style, but not really. And I use the quick minute rice because everything to make it go by quicker. That, and I can't ever cook regular rice correctly. It just doesn't, I don't know. I screw it up every single time, no matter what. So I'm gonna lightly toast this rice in the butter, because hey, butter makes everything better, right? Like, seriously. It's my favorite saying. Butter makes everything better. So we're just gonna toast up the rice a little bit. And we've got, our beans are over here just on a low heat, just to keep them warm. Very, very low, just warming them up. Keep that stirred, because have y'all ever had burnt beans? They're disgusting. I'm just saying. You don't want burnt beans. Not ever, ever, ever. Okay, so we've lightly toasted our rice. So I'm gonna take the cup of broth that I reserved from our cooking chicken. Add that right on in there. Let that start to simmer and absorb a little bit. So I'm doing this over medium-high heat so that it basically continues to constantly simmer and stir. And I'm going to add in our little bit of reserved enchilada sauce. Get that in there. Done and done. Get that mixed together. Nice and stirred. Mixed in. Smells so yummy. Yummy. And of course, we've got our little extra pinches of seasoning, because you always got to add a little extra. Another little pinch of pepper. Now I like to add some smoked paprika, because gosh, the smell is just one of my favorites. It almost smells like barbecue. Little chili powder. Actually, it's really hard to get out of this container. So I'm like, I say a little bit. It's actually quite a bit. Quite a few little shakes, as I say, because I don't know how to measure anything. Onion powder. Like I said, my house seasoning. Onion, garlic, salt, pepper, slappy mama. We're gonna add a little bit of this Tex-Mex seasoning as well. Kind of marry all of the flavors together from our enchiladas into our rice, because that's how we roll. And let's get that. Got a little mix. Stir, stir, stir. Yeah, it smells so good. So good, so good. All right, let's check on our enchiladas. It's got about a minute left. Let's see if we need, I only set it for 20 minutes, so we'll see. Yeah, I can go for another 5. So 25 minutes will be probably good enough on that. Okay, so this rice is bubbling and boiling. And so what I do is, after that first initial like cup or so of liquid, I want it to be like almost completely absorbed into the rice, because like that little bit of liquid just kind of barely covered the top of the rice. So now we're gonna let that boil a little more, and then we'll add some more chicken stock so that it has enough liquid to actually cook. You know, like I said, I do this almost risotto style, that like you just keep stirring and adding liquid until it's kind of creamy. If you've never made a risotto, don't worry, I haven't made a real risotto either. This is about as close as I get. One of these days I'll try. Okay, so then I'm just gonna add probably about another half a cup of chicken stock. Oh, there you hear our air fryer dinging. We are using those remaining tortillas to make some chips. Jasmine's pretty much the master at making the chips, so we put her in charge of that little job. Yes. All right, so added that chicken stock in it. Now we're gonna let that come back up to a boil. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, we're making Mexican food, so might as well have a Mexican beer. Cheers. And I'm a weirdo, and I like to add salt to my Dos Equis. I also like to add lime, but at the moment we don't really have limes, so salt it is. So good. There we go. All right, so it's coming back up to a boil. And we're gonna let that liquid absorb completely. So on the side over here where our beans are, you know, you always, when you go to the Mexican restaurant, they serve you your refried beans with that cheese melted on top. Well, I like to melt the cheese in my beans. So in goes some cheese. Stir it around. Stir it around. Like I said, cheese is my life. Everything needs to be cheesy. Cheese. Love melty, gooey cheese. So good. Alright, while that's going, I'm gonna start cleaning up my kitchen a little bit here. Alright, let's put, see, I have to put these seasonings away every single time. Like, why? When I could just have a cool little shaker bottle. Yeah, cool little shaker bottle that has all of the regular ones that I use on a daily basis, right there ready for me. That would be fantastic. Gather some trash. All right, let's stir. Okay. Let's stir. Alright, that's absorbing. Oh, this smells so good. I always do the sniff test. Like, it has to smell just exactly the way that I want it to. Then I know that it's had enough seasoning and it's good to go. So the cool thing about using the quick boil and bag rice is that it takes about half the time to cook than regular rice. So by the time this liquid is absorbed into it, it'll be done. Don't have to worry about it. If we were using regular rice, it'd probably take us like 30 minutes to be cooked. So there was one time that actually, speaking of making this rice with regular rice, not boil and bag rice, when I first started making this, I was like so impressed with myself. Like, I used to make it at home all the time. So, you know, one of my very best friends, she lives in Shreveport. Hi, Angel. And I went to go visit her for, I don't know, this was probably Mudbug Festival and her anniversary / birthday, all sorts of fun things, all back to back to back. And you know, I was like, oh my gosh, like, let me make you this meal. And I tried to make this rice using regular rice, and it was like so hard and crunchy. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like, I don't know how to cook regular rice. I just can't do it. It's got to be the easy boil and bag rice. The chicken quesadillas that I made them, though, did actually turn out really well. But yeah, the rice, epic fail. Epic fail. It was like, throw that in the trash. It's so gross. They were champs though, and they ate a couple of bites, you know, because they wanted to be polite instead of just spitting it out. But no, I totally screwed that one up. But yeah, so I'm just sitting here stirring it constantly, making sure that liquid is totally absorbed. All right, let's look at our enchiladas. Okay. I think they are just about done. A few more minutes on the cheese to get it good and brown on top. I like good and browned cheese on top. You know, you can vary the times based on your personal preference of browned cheese. But I personally like a little more of a broiled look on my enchiladas. y'all can hear this bubbling. But you can tell the liquid is absorbing out because it is just bubbling away. And it's getting louder and louder the less liquid there is in it. Getting there. Let's look. What is our air fryer doing? I don't know. She's trying to set the house on fire with the air fryer. No, I'm just playing. I don't know. It stopped working. So maybe we won't have chips. That's how we roll. We do what we do. I think it just got too hot. It needs to settle and cool down for a little bit. Alright. Let's go here. Let's see. Alright. We're gonna go in for the taste test. Let's see if we're crunchy or if we need to add a little bit more liquid. Moment of truth, guys. Perfect. Yes. All right. No crunchy rice here. We'll let that absorb the rest of that liquid. Alright, turn that sugar off. And then, you guessed it, more cheese! Ha ha ha! Gotta have cheese. Gotta have cheese in the rice. See, told you, it just needed to cool off a little bit. Just got a little hot. Now it's working fine. Stir that cheese into that rice. Yummy goodness. Oh, cheese, 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 everything cheese. Like honestly, I don't think I could ever be a vegan, not because I would miss the meat, but I would miss the cheese. I've had like vegan cheese replacement. Not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea at all. Nice creamy cheesy rice, done. Beans, nice and cheesy, and not burnt. Haha. Now, let's look at our, where's my other, I don't know what I did with all my pot holders today. Not sure what I did with all of them. All right, let's move dogs, keep it. Watch out, oven coming through. Oh, let's look at these enchiladas. Yes. Oh, perfectly browned. Perfectly browned, like that broiled look that I like, right? Like, oh, yes.
Let's get a close-up of that, shall we?
Yummy. Oh, we're gonna get a close-up of that bubbly goodness.
Yummy.
Let's look at that.
Got it.
Yes. All right. Now we're gonna let that sit, kind of absorb the extra sauce into the tortillas. Yes. Whew. And hey, we're not fancy around here when it's just us. So here come the big plates. We're not gonna do a whole lot on presentation. All right, let's put our cheese away before it all melts. Our extra stock goes into the refrigerator. Cheese done. All right. Yes. Oh, it just looks delicious. Oh, this gonna be so good. So excited. Cream cheese chicken enchiladas. Yes. Cream cheese, and we added our full spectrum hemp and plus our silver into our enchilada sauce. So we get the health benefits of both the hemp and the silver, making our immune systems great during this COVID-19 stuff, right? Yes. All wrapped up in a yummy enchilada. All right, let's see. Which one do I want to go for? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's see if we can see where it starts. Yes. All right, let's see. Get off the edge here. Yes. So good. Okay. Let's see. Moment of truth. If I can get it out. Slipping and sliding. Here it comes. All right. Woo! All right. Oh, give me that cheese off the top. All right. Okay, let's plug into this sucker and see what it does. All right. I want this big fluffy middle part right here that has lots of stuffing in it. Ding! Our chips are ready. Ooh, look at that steam. I don't know if you can see that steam coming off that. Ooh. Very hot. So good though. All right, there you go. Cream cheese chicken enchiladas and my take on Mexican rice and refried beans. And there you go, my first attempt at a cooking video. Thanks for joining me.